podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. You'll follow us at clockand_talk. Each and every week I'm joined by two chaps, Tony and Schwinn, and you wouldn't fucking believe it that I found out this week that Schwinn doesn't like Oasis. Wow. How are you, Schwinn?
Wow. I never said I don't like Oasis. It was just not the right moment for me to listen to Noel Gallagher at that point.
Mate, I'll throw you under the bus every day, buddy.
Every time. I'm gonna stop being active on that WhatsApp chat from now on.
And Tony, you were like me, mate. Absolutely shocked at that. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I picked it up first, and I thought, I really hope Tez backs me up here. Otherwise, I look like the idiot when it's clearly Schwinn who's the idiot. But you back me up and in some style, so we'll take that. Yeah, I'm good. I mean, this probably doesn't affect either of you, but I'm currently watching golf and actually getting really into it, and I couldn't care less about golf for the other 364 days of the year. But somehow I've really got into the Ryder Cup.
Who are you following?
Well, Europe, because I'm European.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Okay.
Helps, isn't it?
It's all right, mate. I was just thinking, what is the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, it's Europe versus America. As I said, I have no idea what. I think just because the press and stuff have made such a big deal of it, they've conned me into believing I care. And I find myself cheering when someone putts it, and I literally couldn't care less. But apparently I do. America's just hit the ball in the water, and I'm buzzing. But I don't know why. I'm happy about it.
They've roped you right in, mate. They've sucked you right in.
And tomorrow, someone mentioned, today's the last day, and if someone mentions golf tomorrow, I'll be like, what are you talking about? I don't care.
Isn't Tiger Woods, he's on the comeback, isn't he?
Well, he won, so the commentator told me he won some tournament a couple of weeks ago. He's had a bit of a stinker in this, but he's got quite a close match now. He's losing, but it's close. Yeah, okay. I can tell you the proper terms just because I've listened to the commentator so much. He's 1 down with 2 to play, which again, wouldn't have meant anything to me on Thursday, but now it runs my life apparently.
You're a true fucking golf professional now, aren't you?
I mean, it comes up on the screen every hole. So.
Oh Jesus. Okay, I don't know where to go from here. Fucking golf.
Well, there's one I don't know. You might have heard of him. There's a guy called Ian Poulter who's a gooner, and he's apparently he's not the greatest golfer, but he really gets up. He's a team player, so he gets proper into this and always does really well. And he just won a hole, and he ran around celebrating fucking he'd scored the winner yesterday. It was quality.
Well, you have to. Well, you know what you got to do now, don't you?
This pumps all over the shop.
No, I was more thinking we need a guest for this podcast, so you might as well. Since you're the golfing expert now, you can head down there and have a yak to him.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Poulter that probably earns about 20 million a year doesn't care that I watched the Ryder Cup once. Couldn't care less.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into this show. Where are we? Arsenal, Watford. Yes, so we got a win. Let's go with the lineup first, as expected, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people, obviously, with the Ramsey situation that I'm sure we'll get onto later, expected him not to start. But for me, I couldn't see any different. Emery sees this as our strongest lineup. I disagree, but obviously it's his job to pick it. And he's going to stick with that. I think maybe we might see a change going forward, but I was I had no expectation of seeing any changes yesterday. And I said as much before the game.
Mm-hmm. Schwinn, you were like-minded, mate?
Yeah, pretty much. Hard to disagree with that. I did expect Socrates to be back. I thought I saw something on Friday maybe that the BBC put out saying that he's fit and he should be available and had recovered from his dead leg. So I expected him to be available, but obviously that wasn't the case. Otherwise, the team pretty much picks itself at the moment.
My only worry is, and we've said it here a few times, is Aubameyang isn't fitting in where he is. I think we've got to get him into the team. Now, look, obviously he's in the team, but I mean, I think we've got to get him up front. Lacazette, and we'll talk about it now. That first chance that Lacazette missed, Tony. That you think that would you crucify him over that?
Well, I know this may sound ridiculous or me sounding Billy Big Balls, but as soon as he tackled the defender, I turned to the guy next to me, and look, everyone can say this, and I went, he's missed, because where he's worried about his own lack of pace, so he won't open his body because he thinks if he gives the defender a chance to get a toe in, they'll nick the ball. So he's so square on that he couldn't really do anything. And it was just like, you could see from the moment he nicked the ball that he wasn't going to score that. Look, for me, that's a horrendous miss. And if that game finishes 0-0, he gets hammered. Everyone goes on about Lacazette being an expert finisher. And look, when Lacazette does find the back of the net, he tends to do it in style, like he did against Everton and like he did against Cardiff. But for me, he misses too many chances. I mean, yesterday, I think he had 4 shots all off target. And 2 of them, well, I'd say 3 of them were good chances. The header, the one you've obviously just mentioned, the header from an Aubameyang cross. Right towards the end, he had a left-footed shot from the edge of the area. He put it wide. I wouldn't say it's a chance to score, but you should be hitting the target, or he also could have put Danny Welbeck in. And then there was another one, which I can't really remember, but I saw on somewhere that he had 4 shots off target. So for me, I just don't... Look, I've always said this. I think he is probably a better footballer than Aubameyang, but he's not a goal scorer. And when them chances fall to you, yesterday we got lucky and we got more chances. But for me, when you get them chances, you want someone you can rely on. And for me, he isn't that man.
No, and I think for me, I want Aubameyang up front. Look, I like Lacazette. Don't get me wrong. And as I've said, I like all the players and that play for our club. But I don't want to be going to the 60th, 70th minute, biting my fingernails watching the game, thinking, "Fuck, are we going to score a goal?" And then when you see a couple of missed chances early on, you start thinking to yourself. And I was thinking of it when I watched the game this morning. I was thinking, oh shit, if this ends up in 0-0, I can see what the highlight that we'll be talking about and what most people will be talking about will be them chances that Lacazette missed. Schwinn, what was your thoughts, mate, on Lacazette?
Yeah, I mean, similar. He's a very industrial player. I mean, just to quickly go over some of the plus points, right? He works very hard. He drops down, when we don't have possession, and does work for the midfield. Goes on for all 90. His fitness is much better than what it was last season, at the beginning of last season, and he combines well even towards the second goal. Quick exchange with Iwobi there to get into space, and he does certain things well. But as Tony said, the some of the skill is missing when it comes to his own confidence in his ability. That was obviously on exhibit when he chipped the goalkeeper unsuccessfully, and the penalty claim. That's something that you have to be clever at, and you have to sell it to the referee. In the build up to the game, Troy Deeney had spoken about his own incident that happened the week before, where he asked whether do we as footballers need to go to ground now and sell it to the referee more. When is a challenge or a claim for a foul, when is it that obvious for referees to give it on their own? And I think that was on display yesterday when we played Watford, and that was a clear penalty for me. And Lacazette has to go to ground there, and in a dramatic fashion, albeit. But we were lucky. We were very lucky yesterday. I don't think anyone will argue that Watford were not as good as us. Some might even argue they were better. And 2 chances late on that we somehow put in the back of the net within 2 minutes. And without those, we'd be in a very different mode right now, and be almost criticizing a lot of things that happened yesterday. And mind you, there's some players, including Lucas Torreira, for example, who had lapses in concentration. It's not just us picking on Lacazette. Mesut Ozil struggled every now and then. And again, I thought our subs changed the game. Iwobi and Welbeck came on, and they were very good. They provided some dynamism and really helped out the team. But all in all, a flat performance.
Yeah, I agree. Tony, obviously there was... Look, it's not a lot to talk about in this first half. Obviously, a couple of yellow cards. I really question what Mustafi does, though. Like, these yellow cards, they're just a giveaway, and there's just no need for it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are hammering him yesterday, and he done a lot of stupid things. I didn't think he was as bad as everyone's going on about. I could argue he was as stupid, but I didn't think he had a terrible performance. His booking was for telling the referee to go fuck himself, which, when it's Anthony Taylor, I think is perfectly acceptable. It's a stupid booking, but I mean, I'd do it 10 times a match. Difference is I can't get booked for it. We just know what he is. It's horrible, but you just have to accept that that's Mustafi, and it is what it is. We can moan about it every week, but we will be moaning about it every week because that is Mustafi.
Czech went off. Leno come on. I thought Leno he did well, and obviously I think Czech was obviously the first half. I thought Czech played. He had a good game too. So bravo to both goalkeepers. Schwinn, or Tony, you think the same? Yeah.
Go on, Schwinn.
Yeah, I thought Leno did very well. Czech, to his credit, did very well as well at the beginning. Just coming back to Mustafi, there were a couple of incidents, as you guys spoke about, where he just made the wrong decision, the stupid decision. And the one thing we know about Watford this early into the season is that they're a physical team. They're a tall team, and they like to get the ball into the box with Holovas delivering, and he's got a good delivery on him, to be fair. Roberto Pereira can also whip a ball in. And those fouls, those little push from the back, they'll always get you into trouble, and you're just putting yourself into a situation where the other team is gonna try and get something out of it. On all occasions, I thought Czech did very well. He was very strong. There were a couple of clashes in there for being 36 years old. He's a strong and confident keeper. And let's not forget he's been through quite a traumatic head injury. So to get into that mental frame of mind to be able to contest a ball like that, did very, very well. Sad to see him go off, but Leno came in and did a very good job as well. One save in the second half against Troy Deeney. I thought Leno stretched himself very well for his height. And again, he was confident in punching the ball out and distributing. I think a couple of balls went astray, but you're not going to have a perfect game. That's all right for me. So I think the mantle has been shifted in a way because Czech will be out for at least 3 to 4 weeks, and we get to see Leno a bit more in the Premier League. And unless he is suspect, I don't think he'll be knocked off his perch. Goalkeepers are not someone you just rotate in and out. You let them play, and unless they're having a confidence crisis, you don't really get them out. So this is Leno's stake now. He can stay on for a long time in goal, I feel.
Mm-hmm. The reason I brought that up, Tony, is because when Czech went off, and I think it must have been you or Savvy tweeted it, who got the armband?
Yeah, it was me. So I'm not, obviously I don't know what they show on TV, so I tweeted it out at half time because I didn't know if people would know that obviously Ramsey got the armband. For me, it's absolutely moronic, and it's nothing against Ramsey. There was a couple of tweets replying saying, "Oh, it's because he's had 10 years service and won us 2 FA Cups, blah blah blah." I have absolutely nothing against Ramsey. I've seen quite a lot of people hammer Ramsey this week, and I think he's been really hard done by, to be honest. By all accounts, the contract was agreed, and then Arsenal have reneged on it. You can't blame him for that. They can say his demands maybe have been too much, but if that had been offered, how can you say someone's demanding too much when that's the offer that's on the table? So it wasn't anything to do with me not liking Ramsey, him being offered the armband, but with the news that's come out this week and it being reported that he's basically got 1 foot out the door, how can you then make that man captain? I know he was part of the leadership group, but I mean, for me, it's just a joke. But then the captain's armband at Arsenal's a joke anyway. I've said this ever since we started the podcast. But another example, and I told Schwinn last night, so I'm assuming they didn't show it on the TV. When Ramsey went off, he was looking around who to give the armband to, and he started walking towards Xhaka, and he gave it to Ozil just on the basis that Ozil was closest to him. But he was literally just like spinning around in a circle, like, "Oh, who shall I give this to?" Yeah, okay. And it's like, I don't really care about the captain's armband, to be honest, and I've made that clear many times. But and you can see the club don't, because that's the level of, who gets it? The guy who's close to me. Like, in what other walk of life does that work?
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. You touched on the Ramsey situation there quickly with the negotiations and contracts and that, and I just want to come back to that. Do you think this has, the offer was on the table? Do you think it was Casitas?
I have absolutely no idea. The same thing happened with Jack, that an offer was made that he accepted, and then I know it wasn't taken away, but he was basically told by Emery like there's no point signing it in a sense. Obviously, I wrote the article the other day, which is unusual in itself, that I don't really get what Husfami does or what he's there for, because it seems he writes contracts that are either gets rejected, are too big, or gets overruled by someone above him anyway. So why do you have an expert if you're going to keep overruling him? I mean, it seems strange to me. I don't know if it's anything Ivan based. No one does, and I guess we probably never will. But it is a strange one, especially. So I mean, it makes sense now that his agency basically said it was done 2-3 weeks ago when they put that tweet out.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
then everyone was hanging on waiting for it to be announced, and it looked like so were they. They're part of the deal, and I don't really understand the bad press that Ramsey's getting off the back of it. And again, this is not me being a Ramsey lover or a hater. It's just I don't really understand why people are choosing to hammer him. I'm not hammering the club either. I just think it's one of them things. But Ramsey's come out of this with a hell of a lot of hate when he's probably as disappointed as anyone else, because he thought he'd put pen to paper on probably his last contract on life-changing money. Not that he's already on life-changing money, but on seriously life-changing money. He's probably in a happy place, thinks he's sorted for the next 4 years, no more hassle, doesn't have to go looking for a new job, a new house. His missus is pregnant, but he thinks, I can bring my family up in my current home. And then suddenly, overnight, it's all changed. So, and then on top of that, he's getting a load of hate, which to me, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I can't work it out. And you touched on it there very, very, well. And but I asked the fans who are hammering him, put yourself in his shoes. Like, if you were to change jobs and you were offered a different job somewhere, for X amount of dollars, and then it's taken off the table and gone. So,
but it's the same job.
In your current job, it's not
like he's flirting with other clubs. It's his current job and it's not the same as a normal job, because if you in your job or me in my job, they said, we're not going to give you that raise, that doesn't mean they're getting rid of you in 6 months or whatever. But with him, he knows that he has 7-8 months now left in that current job, and unless he goes to Chelsea, which is unlikely, you think it's uprooting their whole life. If you lose your job, you can go to another company round the corner, and your life doesn't change too much. Whereas with footballers, he has to move to probably abroad, or best case or worst case for him, depending on you're looking at, Manchester maybe. But it's like he's got a young family, 3 kids under. Well, his missus is pregnant, but it'll be 3 kids under 5 years old, and he's just like, and he's getting abused for that. And as I said, I'm not particularly defending him. I just find it fucking strange.
I'll come to you in a minute, Schwinn, but if you had to list, let's say, 3 clubs that you would think, just off the top of your head, there's no inside knowledge on anything, just straight out question, 3 clubs that you would feel that Ramsey may end up at. Have I put you on the spot, Tony?
Oh, I thought you said Schwinn.
Sorry, no, I'll come to Schwinn in a minute. Sorry.
I mean, I just bring up Chelsea because I think he suits Sarri down to the ground. I mean, look, I watched that game yesterday, and Ross Barkley comes on, and you think Ramsey's 10 levels above him. But would he start there? United will obviously always be in for him, and they'll offer big money, and especially if Pogba goes. And then you're starting to look abroad. I can't see Barca or Real. I know they've always liked him, but I can't see them going for him. Bayern Munich won't go for him. Will anyone in Italy pay decent money? But we don't know. It might not be about money. It might not come down to a bidding war. So it's a tough one. We'll see. I mean, there'll be interest, and he'll get offered a lot of money wherever he goes.
So Chelsea, United, and
someone in Italy, Juventus, Milan. It depends how big Milan. Obviously, Milan have got Gazidis going there, and I don't know if they're going to spend big to achieve big. And if they do, then he's probably ideal for that because there's no transfer fee. Obviously, the wages would be higher. I don't know the tax situation over there, but it would suit.
Okay, Schwinn, same question. 3 clubs for Ramsey, if you had to.
I would imagine he stays in England. I think the payout is going to be bigger unless, Barcelona come chasing because they cannot get Pogba, which seems unlikely. I don't think Juventus is going to put in that sort of money. They have midfielders in the fray right now who they could probably see as a building block. They have Emre Can, Pjanic is there. They also have Khedira, Matuidi. I'm not quite sure if Ramsey quite fits in there. And domestically, I think Chelsea's probably the best bet. As of now, of course, things might change. But I do think it's to a certain extent about the money, and which is fair. He's entitled to look after his family and have that in the back of his head. What I do want to talk about a bit is the hate he's been getting, because as you guys just spoke about, the terms were agreed. And, I've seen some tweets in the build up to yesterday's game where they were asking, people were asking for him not to be included in the 18 or not even be on the bench, and which I find a bit ridiculous, because he is going to play while Emery still has him, because he obviously is a favorite, and we obviously disagree with the tactics involved. But if you have all the tools in front of you that you think you need to succeed, you still use them, and he still is an Arsenal player. Till the time he's not, I think he deserves our support. And he's not the one who's causing up a stir. So I'm not quite sure what fans really want from him. It's again that same thing we spoke about a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about Gazidis, that we are just so scared of letting players go or people involved at Arsenal Football Club go, that when we learn about certain things happening, we just completely go reactionary and impulsive and go against them without realizing what the specifics are involved. And it's not that hard to understand what's going on here. What I think is, maybe Sanlehi and Emery had a talk. Maybe some of the other people there were involved. That how do you want to put in this 50 million or so over the next 5 years? Do you want to invest all in Ramsey, or do you think we can go out there and look for players who can come and do in a job? Maybe not in the same position, but in a different capacity. We have a lot of talented players at the club. If we get this 50 million and invest it elsewhere in one or two positions, do you think we have a higher chance of succeeding? And 9 times out of 10, I would imagine Emery said yes, because if he can get 2 good players, that's always better than one good player. And Ramsey's a very good player, no doubt, but he's not essentially a foundational player of this club. It's not going to hurt us losing him that much. So he's been a very, very loyal servant to the club. He's gone through a horrific injury and arguably produced 2 or 3 of the most significant moments in the last 10 years for us. And I have nothing but love for Aaron. So I have no malice towards him. Till the time he's with us, I'm going to support him. I'm sure you boys will as well. And good luck to him in the future, wherever he goes.
Yeah, well said, mate.
I still don't think him re-signing is out of the question.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as clean cut as everyone thinks. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a bargaining tool by Arsenal. I'm surprised they've gone so public with it, which is what makes me think that. Because if they're just not going to offer him anything, they would just tell him, look, your time's up. But the reasons have come out. They've admitted it was agreed. So for me, I'm not saying he's 100% going to stay, and I think he's probably more likely to go than stay. But I wouldn't say there's 0% chance, which everyone else seems to think is cut and dry.
Yeah, it's a very, very odd situation how it's all unfolded, to be honest. So,
what if the leaks came from Avid, though? Sorry, Tez, but in case of, the assumption there is that Arsenal leaked, right? And with that said, that makes sense. But what if Ramsey's agency leaked?
Well, I think, yeah, it could be, and I don't know. But if you look at all the places it broke, they're traditional Arsenal leaks. We don't know who Avid's leaks are, so they could have the same leaks. But in general, when Ornstein's on something first with loads of details, Jeremy Wilson, them sort of people, you get half an idea that it's come from the club. And everyone keeps banging on about with Ivan saying those who know don't speak and those who speak don't know. But everyone knows the club brief journalists. Not all the time, and they don't always give them correct info, but we all know they're heavily briefed.
Yeah, the only reason I question that is because John Cross was the first one to break that. And I wonder whether the subsequent leaks were just a strategy from Arsenal to sell it as, okay, it's the club leaking, it's not coming from Ramsey's camp.
I don't think John Cross was first.
Oh, was he not? Okay, that's the first one I saw, so I just assumed. That's fair. I can see
sure he wasn't.
Interesting.
Okay. Okay, we'll watch this space and see what happens, though. Just quickly, I wonder. I was thinking, I was listening to you boys there talking about, Manchester United's and Chelsea's and whatnot. I wonder if West Ham's out of the equation because, we've seen a couple other Arsenal players head there, so that could be an option as well.
Not for me. It's too far beneath him.
Oh, beneath him, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't think they're paying
which
money.
is again. Yeah, and that's nothing against Jack. It's just that Jack had that injury, sort of late in career, which raised a few question marks. If Jack never had gone through that, then he'd probably be at, a better club than West Ham.
Jack also had offers from much better clubs than West Ham, but he wanted to play. So everyone was going on about the Fenerbahces and whatnot. That was because he basically ruled out anyone where he wasn't going to be a starter. And yeah, look, Ramsey's just no disrespect to West Ham, but Ramsey's just looking at a higher level.
Okay, what do you make of... So Ramsey goes off in the 63rd minute and Iwobi comes on. What do you make of Iwobi? And, well, what do you make of the substitution to start with, Tony, and then Iwobi's performance?
Yeah, I mean, it had to... Look, the sub had to happen, and you're either going to take... The options are move Ozil into 10 and take off either winger and bring Iwobi on. Take off Ramsey and move Ozil into 10 and bring... So... You're looking at, it was obvious that something was going to happen, and you probably would take Ramsey off in that situation, especially when you need a goal. Aubameyang's more likely to score than Ramsey, and Ozil's more likely to provide something than Ramsey. So it wasn't too much of a surprise. It started off with Aubameyang going over to the right, which I didn't think was very sensible, and Iwobi coming on the left. I prefer Iwobi on the left to the right, but I just thinking Aubameyang moving over there didn't seem to make sense to me. And then Welbeck came on, and then Iwobi moved over to the right. And to be fair, he played very well. A lot of people said Iwobi changed the game, and I'm not taking anything away from him. I thought he had a very good half hour or 25 minutes, whatever it was. For me, Welbeck changed the game, just because he gave us that option to go long, the height, the power, the running in behind, I don't know what grittiness, I guess you'd call it. I mean, I call Welbeck gritty because usually his first touch is so bad that his second touch is a tackle, but it means he has to get stuck in, whereas Aubameyang is quite shy of contact. But, I mean, you see, I think it was our second goal came from a Welbeck slide tackle after a Welbeck flick on from a long ball. They instantly had to change their right back because they knew the long balls up to Welbeck. The current right back couldn't cope. So, for me, Iwobi done very, very well, but the game changed for me. And Iwobi played better than Welbeck. But I think Welbeck changed the game. And it was interesting. Ian Wright was there yesterday. I don't know in what capacity. But he tweeted after the game that he said, I saw what you done, Danny Welbeck. So, I mean, to be fair, I don't find myself agreeing with Ian Wright a lot, but I did completely agree with him yesterday.
Okay. And Schwinn, because I was going to show Iwobi, you like what you saw there, and you also agree with what Tony said on the Danny Welbeck?
Yeah, hard to disagree. Again, speaking of that second goal, I thought he did very well. Very much got stuck in and quick interchange between Lacazette and Iwobi and into goal. It doesn't surprise me that when we bring on natural wingers, we're able to perform better. Aaron Ramsey, Mesut Ozil, Aubameyang, Lacazette, they all play too centrally for me. And we don't get the space, particularly against a physical team, to really do something there. And other than Lacazette, out of those four, none of them are quite physical either. So either you have the physical edge, which we don't, or you spread the play so that you can use your skill and your quality. And Iwobi and Welbeck aren't necessarily the most skillful players, but they provide you with option, they provide you with time, they provide you with space for running, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. Again, Emery does a very good job of recognizing where the changes need to be made. It says something that he brought on Iwobi and Welbeck and not Mkhitaryan, for example, who again is a central player. So it's not about having to do with what's available, but using that in the right way and deploying it in the way he did. So very good substitutions, changed the game with each of his substitutions, I would argue. and got us the result. Without that, we didn't really look to be inflicting any damage.
Okay, we're just going to go quickly, boys, on these couple of goals. So there was an own goal, Tony, at the 81st minute. Originally, I thought it was off Lacazette, but then obviously on the replay you could see that it was an own goal. This is a bit of a worry, though. 81 minute and we go up 1-0. By this stage, I suppose, well, what I'm trying to say is, what was the atmosphere like in the stadium up to that 81st minute?
Yeah, it was very tense, and to be honest, at about 75 minutes, everyone was pretty much saying there's only going to be one winner, and it weren't us. And then 6-7 minutes later, we're 2-0 up. But that's one thing I do like about us this season. When we get a chance, we go for the throat. Against Everton, we scored 2 goals in quick succession. We've done it again yesterday. When that chance provides itself, we don't sit back and try and rest on our laurels. And we didn't overcommit either. It wasn't like we went 1-0 up and overcommitted like we've seen a million times before. We went for the throat and still tried to attack, but we didn't go gung-ho, which is what you want. But yeah, it was very tense in the stadium just before the first goal, and I think the celebration for the first goal was more relief than an actual celebration. It wasn't a huge roar like you tend to. I'd say the Ozil goal was probably celebrated louder because the first one was just relief, and then the second one was just like, oh, we've actually done it. We've won. And that's nothing against the players. I'm not trying to signal, oh, one player gets more cheers than the other. It was just like the feeling in the ground.
Was you thinking, when you're watching it, were you thinking, how the fuck did Lacazette score that? And then look at it later and go, oh, because I was doing that. I was doing that.
To be honest, he didn't celebrate. He barely even stood up. And all the players ran towards Iwobi. So I didn't see who touched it. I didn't see if it was Lacazette or Cathcart. But you could tell by the way they acted within seconds that it wasn't Lacazette's goal. It's also a very poor own goal. He's got away with, I mean, not that I give a fuck, but he's got away with sort of without criticism from it. And you kind of think, like, all he has to do is kick the ball away he's facing. How he's managed, it's actually a fucking great finish. I don't know how he's managed it.
I think he's a gooner. He let, like I said, through early in the first half, of course, and he also scored the winning goal against Tottenham. So I think there's a bit of Arsenal in him.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Schwinn, let it go, mate. The second goal.
I'm not going to speak about the goal too much. It's a good, simple finish, tucked it in comfortably into that small window. But just speaking on the celebration, I thought the celebration was fantastic. You could see not just the relief, but the joy in the celebration. And Mesut Ozil's captain's armband sort of fell down a bit, so you could see him pulling that up, and he worked hard afterwards as well, chasing balls down deep into the second half, maybe even the 90th minute. Just again speaking about some of the game management there. Later on, Iwobi and him just exchanging passes within 5 yards of each other, just seeing the clock out. I thought the last 10 minutes of the game did justice to the first 80 minutes of the game.
Sorry, I was just nodding off there when you were talking.
Fucker.
Just by, you mentioned the armband and Ozil, mate, that was by default, by the way, okay? If Rob Holding was closer, he would have got it, okay? So just calm down.
You know what I'm doing right now, Tez? You know Granit Xhaka's celebration? That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Man of the match, Tony?
For me, it was Rob Holding with Granit Xhaka a very close second. And we haven't mentioned Xhaka's name yet, apart from Schwinn just saying celebration. I thought he had a good game. But for me, I thought Rob Holding was excellent.
Schwinn?
Yep, Rob Holding. I'll also give a shout to Leno. It's not easy for a goalkeeper to come in. Leno said after the game that as a goalkeeper, you don't expect to be subbed in. And to come into that sort of a game where, as Tony said, the stadium was quite tense, produced the couple of saves he did and was very positive as a goalkeeper. So I really enjoyed that.
I'm going to say Granit Xhaka. I thought he had a brilliant game. Nobody was a real big standout for me. But I haven't even spoken to you guys since the game because we've all been doing our little thing in different time zones and stuff. But what was your thoughts on Bellerin? Because for me, he fucking frustrates the hell out of me. Tony?
I think it's another game, a bit like we said about, or a bit like I said about Mustafi earlier, where I come out of it thinking he's shit. He didn't have a good game. But if someone said to me, what did he do wrong? There's kind of not much. Like, it's a weird one. As I said, he's just frustrated. As you said, that you put it best. He just frustrates the hell out of you, but you can't really pinpoint why. He just doesn't really do anything. There was 3 times saying that in the second half where he bombed forward, fine, but then walked back at like the slowest pace you've ever seen, and they counter-attacked them. By the time the ball had gone off, he was still only just getting back into our half. And it may be me thinking old-fashioned or whatever, and some people say, oh, you're a dinosaur. But for me, if you can't get back, don't go forward.
Yeah. I agree. Don't go. And he does it all the time.
Yeah, it was...
Yeah.
Like, as I said, I have no problem.
He's not a footballer.
But you've got to be able to get back.
Go, Schwinn.
He's not a footballer, is he? He's an athlete. He's a sprinter. But he's not a footballer. Every time he strikes a ball, it just doesn't seem right. You know, when you see Granit Xhaka, for example, whip one to Nacho, you can see the direction, the trajectory, the precision. You can see the skill in the way the foot touches the ball. He's got educated feet. Bellerin doesn't. You know, he put a couple of balls into the box. I think one was towards the far post for Aubameyang. One was off of which Granit Xhaka got a shot off, and one is a corner. But it's just hoofed up into the box, hoping someone is going to get ahead to it. Other than that, you know, he's not a physical player. He's obviously got pace, which helps him recover. But then, as Tony said, he doesn't willingly recover as the right fullback. I mean, the right side of our play, you know, right down from Mustafi and Bellerin all the way up to Mesut Ozil is just so disjointed. It's non-existent. That's why everything goes to the left. And
again,
I mean, I'm glad that Lucas Torreira. Yeah, but I mean, how much of the right was really involved? Of course, the first one was. I'll give you that. But Bellerin didn't really do anything except play a ball through to Iwobi. And that's a lucky goal, right? The second really didn't have elements of the right. That was more of a counter-attack, wouldn't you say? And it was Lacazette on the right wing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like we purposely you say everything came down the left, but when both goals come down the right, and you think of like the Lacazette header came down the right. I know it was Aubameyang that crossed it, but it was still the right. Aubameyang had moved to the right by then. So you say most of our play was down the left, but off the top of my head, and I could be wrong, I'm literally just thinking on the fly here. I can't think of a single chance we created from the left yesterday. Even, as you said, the Xhaka shot came from Bellerin going down the right. Yeah,
and that's right. I mean, I'm looking at it from more from the perspective when things were in a deadlock, because that's when we were trying to inflict damage. And everything came from the left in terms of the interplay, in terms of the precision, because I think the team automatically, subconsciously goes towards the left because they feel comfortable with the footballing ability on that side. You know, we'll load bodies on that side. And if things aren't quite working out, we will have Bellerin sprint across and put a ball in. So when you have majority of the players on that side...
I think that's a game plan. I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, and that's why I said I thought Chamberlain was excellent when he played right wing back. That you overload one side, because yesterday we were so unbalanced. It was like 8 people on the left side of the pitch. But as I said, I did speak about it a couple of weeks ago, where I think you overload one side of the pitch, you get the switch out, which is I think why Xhaka's of the 2 centre midfielders stationed over on the left, because he is very good at switching the ball. Switching the play. And I think that's something they're genuinely doing on purpose, that they over congest things down the left, hope the other team get dragged across, and then you can isolate Hector 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 with the right winger.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say
I agree, and
it's very similar. Sorry, Schwinn, because I noticed a few times when you notice Xhaka, he did switch the play back over to the right, and Monreal he'd obviously run right down the left, right up front, and Aubameyang would push up as well. And then the play would be switched. So there's something going on there, and I think, Tony, you probably hit the nail on the head.
No, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. I think it is a tactic, and it was the hallmark tactic of Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich, where they would again play on the left, get the ball out to Robin when the left flank was overloaded, and let him do his thing. Philipp Lahm as well. What I'm doubting is whether we have the quality on the right, once the left is overloaded, to actually do something. Because we only have Hector Bellerin as the option, because Mesut Ozil comes inside and drifts centrally. and it only leaves Hector. If he loses the ball, which he is more than susceptible to, then a break's on. And then we don't have enough cover.
But
and that's what I was about to say a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, no, but if you play Lichtsteiner on the right and take Bellerin off, you lose all that ability though, because he's not going to do what Hector does. And I know Hector, what we're saying. No, Hector doesn't. I'm not saying he does. I don't know what Hector does, to be honest. But I couldn't see Lichtsteiner making them runs like Hector does.
No, this wasn't a Lichtsteiner versus Hector Bellerin discussion. This was simply what does Hector Bellerin discussion, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm simply saying is that when he's on the ball, I have no optimism in me, because I don't think he is a footballer. He's a very talented athlete, and he's a real sprinter. But in terms of footballing ability, the same thing applies to Danny Welbeck in a lot of ways. He just does not know how to strike a ball. He's not comfortable striking a ball. And maybe this is a massive overreaction to yesterday's game, which was very frustrating for all of us to watch. But, people will throw pass percentage numbers and all that. But in terms of qualitative passing, qualitative time on the ball, I don't see what he brings to the team. I really don't. In the current setup, that must be said, because against West Ham, when Mkhitaryan was in the team or anybody was on the right side, he was fine. But in the current system, I don't think he provides anything.
I agree. I get lost of what he does. He makes some great runs, but and he makes the odd cross, a few crosses. He got a couple of assists last week as well, but I really do struggle. But what I was getting at, Schwinn, is if you put Lichtsteiner in instead of Bellerin, then that takes away all that attacking play down that right-hand side. I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying that we've got no option, basically. That's as much as we all sitting here saying, Hector, we don't know what he does, but we take it's really hard situation, because then you take Hector out, then what do you have in Lichtsteiner is the point I was trying to make.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. Look, can Lichtsteiner come in and do a better job? I don't know. We haven't seen it in the Premier League.
Defensively,
what I will argue is, defensively, yes, but I'm saying as an all-round performer, will he come in and do a better job? I don't know. I think what you can do, though, is put... fair enough, but I think what you can do, if Hector Bellerin is to stay in the team, is give him some support on the right. Give him a Welbeck, give him a Mkhitaryan, give him someone, so that at least we get to use our right a bit more.
But as we've been saying on this whole podcast for the whole season, we're missing that right winger, aren't we? That's the problem.
We are. Yeah, that was one. Yeah, that was one of the our top priorities, at least for the three of us on this podcast at the beginning of the season, and it's just shocking that we didn't do much of it. Even to Tony's point, someone like Adama Traore, just to throw a name out there, right, who's not going to cost a whole lot of money, but was going to be a willing runner, and thankfully we do have Welbeck right now, because he comes on and does that. Even Iwobi, to his credit, but at the beginning of the game we are struggling, and I'm just looking at the clock ticking down in terms of when does Ramsey get out of the team, or when does someone get out of the team so that we can throw a body on the right side of the field who's going to actually stay there.
And then that might improve Hector as well. we might be able to see what he does.
That would be the hope.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's our last option at this moment.
I just want to touch quickly, boys, before we go to some live callers and questions. Lucas Torreira and Granit Xhaka. I did see a little bit of criticism, not so much on Torreira. Obviously, you get lots on Granit, but I have to applaud Watford for that first half. They really pushed our two midfielders, and they were quick on the ball, which I didn't feel give our midfielders much time to do a lot. So I think I have to applaud Watford, because they were pushing pretty quick and just giving us no time. You notice that, Tony?
Yeah, everyone goes on about Watford playing two up top and thinks, they're going to be loose in the middle, but they'll be able to press the centre-backs. But they pretty much offer no threat down the right. Will Hughes tucks in and plays as essentially a third centre midfielder. And so it's almost like it's a weird formation. It's almost a 4-3. and then one wide player in Pereira and two up top. But when they have got them numbers there, as I said, they've got the two up top, they've got the three centre midfielders, and then one winger. That's 6 bodies there, and we're suffering from we've got 2 centre midfielders and no one else coming in and helping in Aubameyang, Ramsey, and Ozil. So you're essentially playing 7-on-6 with the keeper being the spare man. And obviously, where our keepers are being told to play out, if they don't press the keeper, it's essentially 6-on-6, which is always going to be very difficult to play.
Yeah, and I just mentioned that because I'd say the odd person say Tuera didn't have the greatest of games, but I'm not gonna, and that's probably the reason why I think. I thought he was still pretty good, but they were pressing, very good. Each and every week we talk to a couple of our listeners, and this week we've got Matty. How are you, buddy?
Hi guys, I'm doing great. Great weekend. Arsenal winning, Manchester United losing. That's great.
Yeah, mate. It's all bloody good. Eh? It's been a good month for us, September.
Mm.
What do you got for us this week, mate?
I have a couple of Arsenal questions and one on the United side. First question is, do you think how was your take on Holding's performance? Do you think that if Socrates come back, do you think Holding can actually take place of Mustafi? Is that what you think? That was my first question.
Yep.
Second question.
Give us a sec, mate. We'll answer that one because otherwise, by the time we get to the third or fourth question, we'll all forgotten what they are.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, quickly, Tony, Holding over Mustafi.
Yeah, we'll start off. About Holding's performance yesterday, I thought he was man of the match, and I messaged Schwinn last night, and I said, "Is it crazy that I think he's man of the match?" And Schwinn was pretty much in agreement. I thought he had a very good game, but interestingly, I saw when Success hit the post, there was someone like Sky's live commentary, their text commentary, said Success gets in behind Holding, who's been awful today. So obviously everyone views the game differently. I did think it was interesting. Was it in the Europa League that the one time that Socrates has played on the right of the centre back pairing for us was with Holding on his left. I think once Socrates is back, it will still be him and Mustafi. You know what it's like as Arsenal fans. Someone has 1 or 2 good games, and suddenly they should be starting every week, and then they have a bad game again, and it's like, oh, why are we putting them in the team? As I said, I think Holding was brilliant yesterday, but for me, that doesn't make him an automatic starter.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah. The second question I had was, since many games now, the first half we are all never scored, I believe. So, is it like it's part of a game management? We are very conservative on the first half of maybe savings or using our energy well in the second half after substitution and all.
Yeah, Schwinn. Sorry, mate.
No, all good. I was thinking about that yesterday as the game was progressing as well. I want to give a bit of the credit here to the opposition because I think they stifled us very well yesterday. Even against Everton, they pressed Granit Xhaka a lot because they know he's the one who starts off things for us and is the number one step in building from the back. Yesterday, again, Troy Deeney and Andre Gray worked very hard. Their midfielders worked very hard, and we just couldn't get out at times. The momentum was never really in our side, and arguably at the end of the first half, Watford were the better team. Some people might even argue they were the better team throughout the 90, but we got the result, so that doesn't matter. I think Emery has chosen his starting 11 based on experience, and that's sort of what Tony spoke about when he talked about the center backs. And that's the same dynamic we follow throughout the team. Go for the experienced, go for the mature players, and let them keep us in the game in the first 90 minutes or throughout the 90 minutes. Emery made a comment a couple of weeks ago that the number one goal for us when we start a game is to be in the game for the 90 minutes. And I initially thought that maybe he was talking about the physical side and working hard, but I think it's also to do with the psychological part that we're not just in the game in terms of running, but we're in the game to be able to get something out of it. I think there is scope to improve in the first half, and that will require loosening the strings a bit, maybe some personnel changes. But I don't think it's an out-and-out strategy to just sit back. Sometimes the opposition works harder in the first 45 than in the second 45, and we saw that from Watford yesterday. They were really leggy towards the tail end of the game, and that was a consequence of working hard throughout the first 50 or 60 minutes. So I think it's a bit of both, and not necessarily just one thing over the other.
Okay. How's that for you, Matty?
I understand, and even I agree with one of Shvin's point is generally teams will be very pumped up in initial 20-25 minutes, and we have seen many times in the past that they are able to get one goal before 20-25 minutes, and it makes our life much difficult. We always be chasing the game. Probably that could be on our mind to make it not losing by half time, maybe. Yeah. Last question is about Manchester United. I mean, I've been hearing everyone is talking about many things like who is at fault, whether it's Jose or Pogba or other players on board. But there is one factor. I don't know whether you guys, what you think about it. Jose's assistant coach Rui Faria had left his team this season. How much do you think it would have impacted? From my perspective, definitely should have, because Jose's idea would have been, easily percolated down via Rui Faria. Probably it is not happening now or something like that. So what do you think? Could this be one of the factor for their? I'm very happy that Man United are faltering, but I'm just thinking from a third eye that is this a factor which we can think about?
Tony?
I personally don't think so. I mean, the thing is with Mourinho, he's so set in his ways. Everyone knows how he plays and what he does and what's expected of what he expects of players, and nothing would have changed. The message to the players would have changed, stayed the same. And you think, I know Rui Faria has been his assistant recently, but he's had many before. Brendan Rodgers, who was the guy that was at Swansea last year. Paul Clement, I know obviously with Ancelotti, but it was with him before. He's had many different throughout the years. I said ages ago that I'd be surprised if he lasts a season. His third season everywhere is always a shambles. The thing is with Mourinho, and I've spoke to players who have not played under him but know people that have played under him, and they always say that no one really gets on with him, but you can put up with his nonsense while you're winning. But if you're either not winning or you've already won and there's no longer a goal, something to achieve. So it's usually a season after he wins the league when he gets sacked, because they think, we've done what we set out to do. Why am I going to keep taking his nonsense? They say, obviously, there's a reputation of him being a good manager, but a lot of people I've spoke to don't think he is. As I said, they play for him until they win, and then they can't be bothered anymore. I actually do think he'll finish out the season now, because I think United will line someone up for the summer, a big name that won't take it during the middle of the season. But it's no shock to me Mourinho struggling in his third year. I think if you look throughout his career, it's pretty... I don't think he's ever entered a fourth season with anyone. I may be wrong, but I know 9 times out of 10 at least he doesn't enter the fourth year with any club.
Okay. Righto, Matty. Thanks for your questions today, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
No worries, mate. Good stuff. And you too can join us for a chat with the boys on the podcast at @clockend_talk. You can follow us on Twitter, and you'll find our bio in our profile link. Righto, boys, let's get into some questions, because we've got a few to get through. So we'll start at the top and work our way down. Hakon Larson, Tony, will Ramsey slowly fade out of the starting 11? He's on his way out. Emery tried, but of course he seems that he isn't a 10. I hope with the contract talks as well, maybe we have a target we would rather invest in. Sven, Emery and Raul is starting to do their job in his opinion. He goes on and says, should have sold him in the summer, but Emery still needed to find things out for himself.
Well, look, for me, I think Emery's still playing him yesterday, and we've differentiated the difference between a manager and a head coach on here loads of times, so I'm not going to go through that again. But Emery's still playing him yesterday highlights that he still thinks Ramsey's in our best 11 or in our best team. So I don't know about the dropping him and the phasing him out, and hopefully we've got someone in mind, because as I said, Emery clearly still likes him. If Emery didn't want him there, he wouldn't be in the team. Well, not didn't want him there. If he didn't want to play him, he wouldn't play him. So I don't know. I think the whole situation is just being very confused. It isn't helping that he's playing out of position and not doing it well. That really isn't helping things. I don't know what the solution is here. As I wouldn't be surprised if he carries on playing, because Emery, as a head coach, it's just his job to think about. All he cares about is what team gets me the 3 points. He doesn't have to think about transfer values. He doesn't have to think about anything else. And he clearly sees Ramsey in his best team that is equipped to get him 3 points. So I can't see that changing. Saying we should have sold him in the summer is another one, which is a bit... Look, again, they'd agreed the contract. So they had all the signals in the summer that he was going to stay. So why would you sell him? Now they've reneged on the contract. It throws up an interesting situation. But I'm not surprised they didn't sell him in the summer, because he's told them he was going to sign, and they knew he was going to sign. So I don't really... Look, we can all agree in hindsight and say, oh, now he's not signing, that we should have sold him. But it's not his choice to not sign. I think people are overlooking that so much, and it's probably the biggest factor of the whole thing. I wouldn't even say it's a key factor. I'd say it's the main factor. That, like, even if... What doesn't make sense to me is, even if you want to sell him, get him to sign a new deal and sell him in the summer.
Yeah,
like, just yeah, I mean, the only thing that would scupper that is if the wages are stupid that no one else will pay them. Like I said about Ozil, not that I want him gone or anything, but if Arsenal did want to sell him, you'd really struggle to get someone to take him because of the money's on, and that's the only thing that would scupper a Ramsey deal.
Who else? Who else have we got off contract next season?
Danny's is out in the summer and Ramsey's is out in the summer. I think they're the only two major ones. I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, they're the only two major ones.
Yeah, no, I've put you on the spot there as well, so yeah. Okay, interesting. Hakon Larson, Schwinn, Anthony Taylor, and you did touch on this, Schwinn, so actually I'll get your thoughts. Basically, you thought it was a penalty, Schwinn. He's talking about the Lacazette when he stumbled a few steps before he hits the ball is enough to blow the whistle. Again, the opponent have so many fouls and have never get booked. Deeney could have straight red card as well. I'm trying to think of that one. Okay. Do you remember that one, Schwinn? What he's talking about there? It should have been a red card for Deeney.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly on the penalty, I think, that's been spoken about, but I mean, we need to make sure that we sell it, as I said earlier. On Deeney, yes, it was, I mean, definitely a yellow, if not a red for me. But of course, I come from a biased point of view. I think it was the challenge on Nacho. And maybe just to give some benefit of the doubt, I think it was a collision between three players. And Mustafi was involved as well. And maybe that's sort of what threw off Anthony Taylor in seeing the ferocity of the challenge. But, this brings me on to a different point. And I don't know, Tez, what feed you are watching on, but did you notice the commentator, the color commentator, and what a big nonce that guy was?
No, I didn't, mate, to be honest. Nah, I might get... Who was your commentator there? I might have a different commentator.
So, I was watching on the Premier League feed, and Tony Gale was the one doing the color. I'm not sure who the play-by-play guy was, but that guy was such a big retard. And I know we're not supposed to say that word, but that's what he was, for me at least. I mean, he was sitting on Troy Deeney's dick the whole time, and his hate for Arsenal was very real. And I wasn't looking at Twitter or anything during the game, but I noticed after the game as well, everyone was tweeting about what a shit commentator that guy was. So that guy really did my head in. But he thought that was a very good challenge, and not a booking, not a red, of course, but not even a booking. So, it's just frustrating to watch an Arsenal match when the team is anyway struggling and the ref is clearly not helping. The team isn't helping itself. And then to add on top of that, the commentator is a big douchebag as well. So, yeah, it was just a frustrating game to watch yesterday, I suppose.
Well, there you go. We've lost the douchebag listener now. Now we're fucking screwed. Good on you.
Good riddance.
Tony... What do we got? Oh, do you think it was a penalty? Because I haven't asked you. Like I said, he should have went down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very cynical when I watch football, and as soon as it happened, I shouted dive. Like, as in, I don't mean dive, I just mean go down, but dive's quicker to shout in the heat of a moment. And I thought it was a penalty. It was down the other end of the pitch for me, so I thought it was a penalty. And then I asked Schwinn before I'd seen Match of the Day last night if it was. As I said, my feeling is where it was, but you get multiple replays and whatnot. I see it once. And he said, yeah, and then I've seen the replays, and it definitely is. But as Deeney, and I don't really want to give Deeney much credit, but as Deeney said, at what point do you have to start? Because if you go down easy, everyone sees it as a dive. But at what point do you have to start going down easy for the ref to realise he's been impeded, he's been fouled, just because he doesn't throw himself to the floor?
But he did go down eventually.
Yeah, but he went down 2 or 3. I think what killed him is that he tried to play on and he put in a shit cross because he was off, because he was fouled. But because he's tried to play on and fluffed his lines, so to speak. But for me, just go down, because you're never going to keep that ball on anyway. So you had nothing to gain.
Just a dumb decision at the spur of the moment, maybe.
He also didn't appeal strongly enough. I mean, a few players did, but he didn't really, and that never does you any favours. And again, I know everyone says, oh, you shouldn't hound the referee, you shouldn't circle the referee, but it clearly works. Take the ethics out of the game into it. If something works, for me, you do it.
No, I agree.
Especially at home when the crowd is gonna be the 12th man as well.
Yeah.
Jonas 82. Although we are winning games, it is hard to see what system we are trying to play as of yet. Lack of quality coaching or something else, Tony?
Yeah, I was talking to my friend I go to every game with. I was talking to him this morning, and we could have lost all 7 games. And it would have been a bit harsh, but it wouldn't have been like, if we'd have been 2-0 down at some point yesterday, I don't think anyone could have moaned. I think the same about Everton. West Ham obviously were battering us for a period. Cardiff maybe is the only one where we probably didn't deserve to lose it, and maybe Newcastle. But had we had 0 points, it would have been harsh, but it wouldn't have been ridiculous. It is difficult to see what he's trying to do. I mean, no, that's not fair. You can see what he's trying to do. I'm struggling to see how that will work, because when the reason I think we're scoring so many late goals is because we're changing plans. So that's why I think Welbeck and Iwobi were key yesterday, because they're much more direct, much more physical. And that's when we get both the goals. I think we are even having to score, I don't want to say, a wonder goal to change the way the game's going, or change the way we're playing to score. Like, you look at Newcastle and we scored a world-class free kick from Xhaka. You look at Everton, they're all over us, and Lacazette has a world-class finish. And for me, I don't think his plan A is particularly working. All the games we've got,
plan B.
Yeah, but that's what's winning us the games.
And just going on to that, because we talked a lot when Emery signed for us that apparently, and I don't know, maybe it was researched by Schwinn or somebody, that he likes watching video of opposition and whatnot. Do you think that he is? Because me and you know, and Schwinn, we all know what a Manchester United's going to come on and do, and a Watford. But I look at the games that we've played, and I think, does he know the teams that we're playing? Like, has he done the research, or has he waited till half time to do the research and then go, oh shit, they're doing this, guys, we're going to change it to this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe he rates our first 11 higher than we do, and thinks, we can do the job with this, and then he's found out that pretty much every week he's had to change it. I said this a couple of weeks ago, but what is it? Has there been a game yet where we haven't made a sub before the 60th minute?
Good question.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure. Did we make one against Everton? That's the only one I can't remember.
Finish your thought. I'll look it up just to be sure.
Yeah, so the Everton's the only one in question, but that's what I'm saying. So it's always the plan B that's doing the job, and you can look. There's an argument to say, plan A tired them out and plan B finished them off, but you could say that. I don't agree with that, but that's the counter argument.
Oh, look, I've got to take, you got to applaud him. Like, we've had a really good September, but I do get the ifs and buts and whys and what if, like. Look, but at the end of the day, we've won every game in September, and we are going along nicely. But I agree with Jonas. I don't know what the plan is, or the system is, or what it is that.
I mean, my issue is I can quite clearly see what Plan A is. I just don't think Plan A is going to work. And as I said, I think we've had to abandon it.
What's
arguably,
Plan A?
to be honest, it's the only time. Well, look, it's the playing out from the back, the passing and moving. We scored a few goals from it. I was going to say, arguably, the time it's worked best, Plan A, was against Chelsea, and we changed it. We changed it at 2-2, and Plan B didn't work in that game. But I think it's quite clear to see what he's trying to do. I just personally don't think it works.
Mm-hmm. And you've got to look. I applaud him that he's willing to adapt and change the tactics at half time. I like that our manager is thinking and always thinking and going, okay, well, that's not working. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. There's an argument that Wenger never done it. I don't know how true that is too. On the back of, I think a player mentioned it, didn't he? He said it. Can't remember who that was now, but yeah. So I don't know. I think you've got to applaud Emery for what he's done so far.
Oh look, it's not. I'm not saying he's bad, but like everything, there's good and bad. We've highlighted the good. It's a good result.
Yep.
You also have to highlight the negatives. I think none of us would be being true to ourselves if we just, and no one would listen if we just come over here and wanking our good Arsenal where every week. And
no, exactly.
So I mean, football's a debatable sport, and I'll bring up negatives that you might not agree with, and you'll bring up some I don't agree with, and it'll be the same with the listeners.
Yeah.
I said I'm not going to come on here and pretend everything's rosy when it's clear to see. Brilliant, we've got the results, no complaints. But would I be happy if we played like this for the other 31 games this season? Not really, no.
No.
And I don't think we'd get the results either.
I think that he knows that too, because he knows that there's a lot of work to be done.
Oh, it's definitely a work in progress, and yeah, you're right. He does know that, so it's not a criticism. He's still 7 proper games in, but I'm just saying, like, people are going, "Oh, we've won 7 on the spin," blah blah blah. We're nowhere near the finished article.
No. How'd you go with that, Schwinn? You do your Everton research?
Yeah, I mean, there was a change. Of course, Socrates went off in the first half, but, to Tony's point, that was not a tactical switch.
Though. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, and the same as yesterday. I mean, Leno obviously came on before half time, and then Iwobi was 65, I think you said. But it's still there. I know, obviously, they were injury based, but we still haven't had a game where there hasn't been a sub before the 60th.
Correct. And against Everton, it was the 69th minute, or when the next sub was made. So yeah, your point stands. So
it's a different situation, really.
Right. And I mean, just while we're talking about this, there's actually another question on this that Utkarsh asked, which was, do you think there's a reason that our first half performances are not great? Is it that Unai is new to the league and takes some time to read the tactics of the opponent? So I thought this question ties in with what we just discussed, so I just bring it up.
Yeah, as I said, I don't particularly think Plan A works. But if by keeping the ball so much in Plan A, you run the legs off other teams, which is kind of what we done to Watford yesterday. As you said earlier, they were knackered by the end. So if that's what we're doing, then you can argue that Plan A and Plan B go hand in hand. That Plan A, maybe you want to win the game with it, but maybe it isn't expected to win the game. But you tire them out so much by making them chase the ball that when you do make your changes and go a bit quicker and more physical, the other team can't live up to it. So maybe they do go hand in hand, but I'm just going on with how we start games. We ain't going to be winning games playing like, we're not going to be winning loads of games playing like that.
My thoughts on the first half was Watford come out swinging. Like they really come out, and as I said earlier, they pressed our midfield to a point where, like, what did you say, 6 or 7 on 2 or something, wasn't it?
No.
What were you saying?
Yeah, but I think you're looking at yesterday, Tez. But you got I'm only looking at, because I don't class the others as proper games. They're second string games, and I've said that the whole time. You look at the league. We've had 7 league games. We've had at half time it's been 6 draws and 1 loss. So I know you're talking about yesterday and how well Watford pressed, but you can't tell me Cardiff pressed like that, Newcastle pressed like that. True. Okay, City arguably did, Chelsea certainly didn't. So West Ham didn't. So yeah, I know what you mean. You're talking about yesterday's game, but you can't use. Like, there's a broader picture to look at.
Yeah. No, true. Because he's said the whole for every first half. So yeah, I don't know.
I said six losses. 6 draws and a loss at half time in 7 games. When you change that round to say it's been 5 wins at full time, you see that our second half performances have been the difference.
Do you guys, when you watch us attack, the Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ramsey, Ozil, do you think we're struggling there a little bit? They're just not clicking together, and that's...
Aubameyang doesn't want to be on the wing. He doesn't like taking contact. On the wing, you're going to have to take contact. So it leaves us so unbalanced. It's unbelievable. Like Ozil tucks in, Aubameyang half tucks in because he doesn't want to be out there, and it's just very easy to defend against. It's why I was saying earlier that as much as I don't rate Hector as much as the next guy, but it's vital he's there because we've got no one else to stay wide on either side. Nacho stays. Our fullbacks provide all our width.
Yeah, we definitely need that right winger. Even the left. Oh no, what?
Yeah. We need a winger.
A winger. Okay, that RC fella. I give him a tip yesterday. 1, 2. Laughing all the way to the bank. Okay, fellas, how good did it feel when we got the opening goal? Bloody fantastic. Even better when Ozil got in. Sweetest victory of the season for mine. Maybe because it was the highest placed team we've beaten. Was that your most jubilant moment so far this season, Schwinn?
Oh wow, that's a tough one. I don't know. I think Lacazette's goal against Newcastle was probably my most. Oh, was it Cardiff? The late winner when he hit it at the roof of the net. Yeah, that was the one. I thought that was my most jubilant moment. Although yesterday was quite close, but the one against Cardiff was good just because it was Cardiff and we were about to drop points then. And of course, I would rather lose points to Watford than to Cardiff.
Tony?
Yeah, that bastard just stole my thunder. It was definitely Cardiff. I don't. The whole away, obviously, I'm talking from the perspective of being there. The whole away day was very good. Our crowd were really good the whole game in Cardiff. So the scenes when that goal went in, and for a lot of the reasons Schwinn just listed in terms of what the result meant in terms of who we're beating. And you got to remember at that stage we'd only actually won 1 game. We'd only won 1 away game in 2018 at that stage. So you got to factor all of them in. But yeah, just even the feeling in the ground and the jubilation in the ground was much better than it has been any other game or any other moment.
My sweetest victory was against Newcastle United. Because I didn't know, we know what Rafa, he can set that team up, and I know they're struggling a little bit now, but you're going to get a good defensive team out of Rafa, and he can, whether he sets fucking 10 at the back or whatever tactics he does, but that was also one of my favourite games because Granit Xhaka scored.
Yeah. We know.
We know.
And man of the match.
I think everyone listening knows.
And I think he got man of the match too, just quietly. Okay. I lost where I'm up to now. Oh, hack on Larson. He's blew in again. What's that RC fella call him? Having a hacking with Larson or some shit. Yakking with Larson.
Yep. Yak on with hack on.
Yak on with hack on, yeah. Crack up. I love our listeners. Okay, Holding was impressive. Not a lot of minutes this season to play against physically informed Watford and do well, impressive. And good to see Mustafi passes the ball at row 86 after 16 seconds. Fucking hell, that guy needs a slap.
Oh, God, I just remembered that. Good Lord. That was the first kick of the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot about it myself.
Oh, Mustafi.
He's a fucking, yeah. He's hot. I'd say he's hot and cold at times, but yeah.
That's an understatement.
That is a big understatement, isn't it? Our offensive play will not improve until we have wingers. Somebody agrees with us. Iwobi was kind of crucial, dives with the ball and takes on players that little can change a game. and he did yesterday. He deserves a start, but he can't play on the right. So what do you do? How would you set us up? Tony, I'll tackle that.
I would go flat 3-1-2. That wouldn't have Iwobi in the team. If we're going to go with width and you're going to go 3 behind, I agree. If Iwobi's going to be in the team, then it's going to be on the left. We do have to remember that he started on the left against Chelsea and was very good. He then started the next game against West Ham on the left and got dragged at half time. I didn't think he was poor, but for whatever reason, he got subbed off. For Lacazette. Lacazette went up top, Aubameyang went wide, and it's not changed since that time. Aubameyang's been playing on the left. I don't like him there. I don't like him on either side. For me, you've got to get the 2 up front. Like I saw a good friend of mine tweeted after the game yesterday, people won't like to hear it, but we're a much better team without Aubameyang, and I completely disagree. But I would completely agree with the statement, we're a better team without Aubameyang on the wing. And the issue is he's playing on the wing. Yeah. But it's one of them. And I know, look, for me, and I said this before, if I had the choice to play one of them up top, it would be Aubameyang. And I saw someone say, the form Lacazette's in. He's got 2 goals. And they go, Aubameyang's only got 2. But Aubameyang has only played, I worked out last night, the equivalent of less than 2 games up front this season. Because he started against City and then got moved after about 60 minutes to the left, and Lacazette come on. The same against Chelsea, and then he got half against West Ham. And ever since, he's been on the wing. So he's played like literally 150 minutes basically up front, and people are going, but he's only scored 2 goals when he got his chance up front. But suddenly Lacazette's magic, man, because he's got 2 goals and he's 5 games up front. It's weird.
He can't do nothing wrong, Lacazette, can he?
No, look, I'm not hating on him. I don't hate on any Arsenal player. But I said this throughout last season. I don't think I've ever seen an Arsenal player get as easy a ride as Lacazette does. I thought he was quite poor yesterday, if I'm honest. I saw people giving him man of the match. I'm like, how can you miss 4 chances or 3 chances
and get man of the match?
Need a man of the match. For me, it doesn't. Look, and as I said, I know he's a tidy footballer, but tidy strikers don't win you games. You can argue you could call Cesc Fabregas a tidy centre midfielder, and you can argue a tidy centre midfielder wins you a game, but a tidy striker does not much for you, to be honest.
No. Cosman Buddha, he also touched on this. Is Iwobi first 11 material yet? According to you, Tony, it was a no on that new format, on that tactics, the way you'd set it up. How about as they stand, the way Emery rolls it out, though?
It's difficult because, look, as you say, Iwobi can only really play on the left, which, say you play Ozil on the right, as he's been playing, then if he wants to get Aubameyang and Lacazette in the team, it means either going 2 up top or playing one of them in the current formation, playing one of them at 10. That's not going to happen. You might move Ozil into 10. That moves Aubameyang out to the right, which isn't the worst idea because he's ineffective on the right as he is on the left because he's not going to be there. So, I mean, look, it's not a horrendous idea. At least it gets Ozil in 10. I'd probably prefer that to the way we're playing, to be honest, because at least it gets Ozil in his best position. You just have to question how much defensive work, how much of helping Bellerin is Aubameyang going to do. But then you can say the same about him being on the left. How much does he help Monreal? So it doesn't weaken us in any way, really. It just we lose the Aubameyang cutting in finish. And obviously he scored both his goals this season with his side foot coming in from the left. So you lose that. But for me, I'd prefer that to Ramsey at 10, in all honesty.
I'm going to go up. Sorry, Schwinn, because I've scrolled down to Cosman Butter. Hakon Larson, he's still going strong. That was a fight from the start to finish and deserved win. Our fitness level is improving, and that is nice to see. I still have the same opinion I've had in the last 7 games regarding our defensive and offensive play, but there are small steps forward. So he's just venting his thoughts on the match. MAA Gunner, if Ramsey is going to play well for a move, should we really drop him?
There's an underlying assumption to that question, which is incorrect because he is not playing for a move. We are the ones who are almost forcing him into a move, if current reports are to be believed. right?
Yeah.
Irrespective, even if he was pushing for a move, as was the case last season with Alexis Sanchez, and as perceived back then, by Mesut Ozil, I wouldn't say we should drop him. I think it's the manager's decision. Whatever gets us the points on a given day is what the manager will do. And see, at the end of the day, Unai Emery has to solidify his position as the head coach of the team. His job and Ramsey's job are two separate entities. And if the manager, deems him to be an integral part of the team, which all of us disagree with, then he will be an integral part of the team, and that's right, in my opinion. Whatever the manager thinks, needs to be done at this moment. I'm sort of blindly following Emery at the moment. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Still early days, but I'm not gonna start using this as a stick to beat him up with, because that does no one any good. So in my opinion, he stays in the team because simply the manager wants him.
Yeah, I'm just going to touch quickly on that. And for me, Ramsey, he's not out of form. When Alexis Sanchez was there, we all said, oh, look, his body language said he wants to go. He's not happy at Arsenal. He hasn't signed a new contract. But I look at him at Manchester United. I see that same old form slump at Alexis Sanchez. Now, I'm not saying that we were all wrong or whatnot, but I just think the bloke is in a form slump, and I think he may have been in a big form slump at Arsenal, even though he wasn't going. Looking at Ramsey, though, he's still giving everything to the jersey. So I don't understand why fans are beating him up a bit, like Tony said earlier. He didn't not want to sign the contract. It was taken off him. So,
well, just another point I'd like to add, that if what I said earlier is correct, where the plan A is to wear them down and the plan B is to then kill them off while they're knackered, essentially, Aaron Ramsey is the perfect guy for that. And maybe that's why he keeps getting in the team, because he knows the amount of running Ramsey does, someone will have to follow him around the pitch because he's too dangerous to leave on his own. Not that he hasn't particularly looked dangerous, and I don't think he's played well, but maybe that's a huge part of why he keeps getting in the team, because he's doing a lot of running. He never stops running. We know that. So that could be playing a part in it. And maybe that's why Emery's keeping him in the team. It's these guys think on a higher level, and they think moves ahead. And maybe that's what he's thinking. I don't know.
That might be the plan that he's got to do.
Yeah, exactly. That might be something that he's playing for. And just going on your point earlier about not agreeing with him, and what is Shrin's point? Not agreeing with, well, all of us not agreeing with Ramsey playing at 10. Look, it's getting results. And when do you change a winning team? And maybe not so much amongst us, but if he drops Ramsey next week and we lose to Fulham, maybe not Arsenal fans, but the press will be, well, why did you change a winning team? You played the same team, 4 games in a row now? Injuries aside. And you've won all 4 games in the league. Well, 5, but I think it's the same team for 4 of them. And then suddenly, you've changed it and you've lost. You'll start getting hammered for it.
Yeah.
So, do you change a winning team, which may be working to his plan anyway?
Exactly. We don't know. Exactly. Okay, MAA Gunner, if we do go and get wingers, how will we get Aubameyang and Lacazette in the same team? Tony?
Move Ozil into 10. If you're going to continue to use Aubameyang on the wing, we need wingers both sides in reality. So you could just get a winger, move Ozil 10 and play Aubameyang on the wing still. It's not the way I would do it, but what I would do doesn't really count for anything.
He goes on, should Aubameyang not start until at least, unless a winger is playing too? I don't get that. Should Aubameyang not start unless a winger is playing too? And tackle that one, Tony.
No idea. As I said, look, my position on it is clear. I'd rather have Aubameyang down the middle than Lacazette. To be honest, if I was Arsenal manager, I'd do everything I possibly could to set up with Ozil at 10 and Aubameyang through the middle. They would be my main objectives, and I'd build the team around that. They're not his. I can't look. We've won however many games in a row. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying what I would do. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll never know unless they make me Arsenal manager. which is probably at this point unlikely.
Not going to happen.
Are you still going to appear on the pod if you become the manager?
My appearance fee will be a hell of a lot more than the zero I get at the moment. But do you know what I mean? This isn't criticism saying what I would do. Just because I would do something different doesn't mean I'm criticising what he's doing. It's just saying I would do something different.
I'm just looking at this question. I'm just looking at the question. So I don't know if Aubameyang's doing anything wrong. I think it's just his position that's wrong for him. So obviously, if you go and get wingers, then you want Aubameyang in the centre. But then what's he do with Lacazette? So I suppose back to MAA Gunner. I don't know where you're coming from with that question, buddy. But he goes on to say, do you think this season is more fixing the players and implementing the tactics? Schwinn?
I don't think you can do either or. It has to be done at the same time. I mean, as people say, you learn best while on the job. And as much as you can try and drill those things in on the training pitch, there's no substitute for the actual game. You cannot replicate those settings. So my concern is more the personnel, because it's one thing to build a chemistry with, let's say, Mesut Ozil on the right, and then you bring in a winger and you throw Ozil into the 10. Now, as good as Mesut Ozil is, he will be happy to be able to adapt to the 10 role, which he's obviously more familiar with. But the team around, will they be able to adapt? And these things take time, so I'm happy to wait. But I don't think it's necessarily a either or question in this case. You have to do both of them at the same time.
Okay. Last one from MAA Gunner. Should we get cash for Ramsey, or should we just try and swap him for a winger? Tony?
Well, I think it was on here, but it may have been in our WhatsApp chat I spoke about last week. Ramsey without a contract, what's he worth in January? 20, maybe? Probably nothing more than that.
Maybe, yeah.
So, in reality, what winger are you getting for £20 million?
Actually, we were talking about that last week, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will pay for Ramsey. I think the only reason United done a deal for Sanchez is, one, they didn't really want Mkhitaryan anyway, and two, they thought City were going to get him. So they tried to... I think had it gone to the summer and he'd been on a free, he would have gone to City. So United had to jump to the front of the queue. I don't really see it being like that with Ramsey. And as I said, I don't know what his transfer value would be. Oh my God, Joe Hart's just made a worldie. I don't really know what his transfer value would be. Huh?
I just turned it on myself. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I don't really know what his transfer fee would be anyway. So for me, I think it's end of the season, gone for nothing. I can't see him being sold or being swapped in January.
I think, I was trying to think of some wingers, and I think we type of let our chance go through. Is that bloke that went from Sporting to Atletico Madrid?
Martins. Martins.
Yeah, Nelson.
I mean, there's a lot of talk about Christian Pavon again, but it comes up every year. I've heard his name, I think it's like 3 transfer windows in a row, and no one's ever bid for him. Well, not that we know of.
Hear about that young bloke. He's blunt and just bloody for Dortmund. We were looking at him. Sancho, is it?
Oh, Jadon Sancho.
Yeah, he had a fucking blinder on the weekend.
They won 4-2, didn't they?
Yeah.
I've not seen it.
I only caught the highlights. I didn't watch the full game, but yeah, he had a really good game.
On top of the league now.
Yeah. I know Bayern lost, didn't they? They lost to Hertha.
No. Just while we're on this, there's another question on a Ramsey swap, and this is from Brad. He asks, would you guys trade Ramsey for Cesc? Cesc can play as a center attack midfielder and even deeper. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Not in this team.
No.
I'm as big a Fabregas fan as you're likely to see. I actually find joy in watching him play football, but his legs are gone, and you just end up with him to the thing is, you got to remember Ramsey's playing as a 10. So if Emery's going to keep his system, if Fabregas come in, it would be for Xhaka or Torreira, and I really can't see that happening.
Yeah, Tez, would you take out Granit Xhaka for Cesc Fabregas?
Not in a million years, buddy. Not in a million years. I'd take out Ozil for...
as expected.
Who would we take
Yeah, you
Ozil
would.
out for?
Of course you would.
Joe Hart. It's only because I'm just
God.
watching him now. I couldn't think of anyone. I was reading questions. It's lots of questions on Ramsey too, and I'm just trying to cipher through them all because Schwinn ciphered through questions last week and missed out fucking every question. So I've taken back over the show this week.
No comment.
Okay, Vish asks, why do we start so nervous? Good question. We've all been pondering the same thing as well, Vish. We grow in confidence, become more composed, but surely this is something we need to address, and I dare say Emery is. If you boys want to chip in, I'm just rehashing over stuff that we've talked about, so if you two
well, just one thing on the nervous thing. I know I said about the 6 draws and 1 loss at half time, but we've only actually had the lead once in the first half of any game. Again, I'm talking Premier League, and that was Cardiff away. So, I mean, I know West Ham we scored in the first half and Chelsea we scored in the first half twice, but we never actually took the lead in them games. So maybe we get an early goal and we settle down and become more comfortable. But until the time we're leading, that's all just going to be speculation. Hopefully we score in the second minute against Fulham next week and we can see if things change.
Yeah, Fulham were poor yesterday, weren't they?
I've only seen match of the day.
Fucking very poor, mate. Okay, Vish goes on and he says about Ramsey's contract means Arsenal feel they are better suited using the money to bring in a winger or Emery at Arsenal. Don't believe he's worth 250,000 a week.
That's a number people have just made up.
I don't know where that come from. That's why I was a bit slow on that.
It is what's been going round. Like I'm not saying Vish has made it up, but fuck knows where it's come from. It's probably right. It does sound about right.
What's Ozil?
350 apparently, including bonuses.
So I thought Ramsey was looking for Ozil money.
Oh, apparently not.
Nah, 250.
And it will be included.
That was another rumour, that was all.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a point I was going to bring up earlier, but I didn't. Like when Schwinn was saying, would the 50 million you save on Ramsey get you 2 good players? I don't even think it would get you 1. Because if you're factoring the Ramsey over a 5-year contract, which I presume it would be, then you've got to factor whoever comes in. So you're saying 2 players. Look, if you get everyone's on 100 grand a week now, there ain't anyone that isn't. So you're looking at 5 million a year on wages. They sign a 5-year contract. That's 25 million pound. You're looking at a minimum of 20 million transfer fee for anyone that can even kick a ball in the Premier League. So that's 45 million, and that's on 1 player. And they're both low estimates are 100 grand a week and a 20 million transfer fee. So saying, I'm not having a dig at Schwinn because I've seen loads of people say this on Twitter that, the money could be better spent elsewhere. But I don't see how it can be when, you may be paying someone less, but you'll be paying a transfer fee and probably a hefty one at that.
But I think the hope there, the underlying hope there is, that Sven does his magic and we unearth a diamond in the rough. Maybe that signing can be. There is no way
everyone will be pleased if we bring in. Look, this is not a dig at Guendouzi because he's done well. But if we bring an 8 million winger in from fucking League 2, as in League 2 in France, not England, and Ramsey goes, people will be screaming their fucking heads off.
Yeah, but I don't really think those people care about that. I don't think Sven and anyone is going to bat an eyelid at the fans going mental when they haven't seen someone. Plus, if you compliment,
we need a starter, and you're not going to get that player to start.
Hang on, I'm just going to throw.
That's what I was about to say.
What's it matter?
Just quickly, that's.
Go.
I was just about to say that you just complement that signing with a Christian Pavon, who maybe you could squeeze into something like that. I don't think Pavon's going to ask for 100k a week.
So Pavon comes in at 30 million and at least 100 grand a week, and I'm being very conservative when I say 100 grand a week. So saying that you can fit in a league or a diamond winger or diamond player anywhere, a transfer fee, their wages, and a Pavon and wages for what you're saving on Ramsey is at best absolute bullshit. Look, that isn't aimed at you, but it's just nonsense. As I said, Pavon, you're looking at 30 million, 100 grand a week over 4 years. There's your 50 million, and that's over 4 years. Ramsey would be over 5 years for 50 million.
Okay,
then you're looking.
What do you get for Pavon in 5 years though, on the market?
Who knows? But that's only
it's
equal.
An investment, though, isn't it?
Ramsey, you
No,
can
I
tell
mean the
never
point
know.
is to do the calculation, though, right? I
But the
mean, see,
calculations
even
don't
if it's
work out.
not,
That's what I'm saying. Everyone's doing a
no,
calculation
no,
and they're making it
no,
work out because they.
I was saying that to Tez that it's not about what we get 5 years from now. It's about what we can make do with the money we have. And yes, the calculation might not sit exactly, but maybe the
It's not
thinking
even
is
close.
that either what about 60 million? I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there in terms of
Now
I'm
you're
just trying
adding
to
10.
understand.
But if you're
I'm
adding
just trying to
amounts to what
understand
Ramsey's going to get,
what the no, for sure, but that same money with some more money on top gives you more dollar value for that money because you're not putting 50 million at one player who might not be required at the moment, is what I'm saying.
but as I said, I just think people are trying to are making a calculation up to suit what they want, and it still doesn't work out. So then they start going, oh, but what if you had 10 more million? But that still doesn't work out. And then they're just adding, suddenly it's not that the money is all to be all and end all because they're just adding 10 million because they wanted to try and sound right. As I said, it's not a dig at you because I've seen it all over Twitter, but saying, oh, you could get 2 players for what you save on Ramsey. From where? Who?
Oh, that's what the question. Okay. I that's how much I take notice on Twitter. I didn't realise. Okay, because what I was going to say was, where's the 50 million coming from? Is that did
No,
Arsenal
so what
say
they're
that's
saying
the
is
budget?
Ramsey's contract over 5 years at roughly 10 million a year would be 50 million.
Yeah,
So they're
okay.
saying save 50 million there and go and get 2 players of the same quality. And as I said, it just doesn't work. People are just trying to fit something into their agenda. It doesn't make sense.
I'd have to nearly agree with you then if that's what the argument is. Yeah, because that would be hard to do. I rack my brain, but yeah.
Well, as I said, like as Pavon's the key example because we've been linked with him. You're looking at a 30 million fee.
Yeah.
So then there's 60% of that budget done. You haven't paid him yet, and you don't know if he's going to set into the Premier League. You know Ramsey is ready to play in the Premier League week in, week out. Pavon, there's always going to be questions because he's very small. I'm not saying that means he's going to be a bad player, but you could then be spending that. Even if it was the same money, one of them can play in the Premier League, the other one you're not sure. And it's not the same money because Pavon isn't going to play for free.
Yeah. I can see some Sven fucking, and it'll be right. It'll be right, as you said.
Yeah, but you're losing a first team player then, and getting in a what?
Yeah, I don't know.
For the money you would get from Ramsey, as I said, look, everyone's 20 million these days. So I'd argue a 20 million probably isn't a first team player now, in an attacking position anyway.
No chance.
So,
no.
Exactly. So the money you're saving from Ramsey, the perceived 50 million, you're not going to get a first team player for that money. I don't think anywhere near it. But what's happening is people are basing Ramsey's deal over 5 years or 4 years and saying 50 million and then going, oh, but we could get Pavon for 30. But you've got to compare apples with apples. If you're going for Ramsey for 4 or 5 years, you have to do the same for Pavon or whoever it is. But as I said, that's where people's agendas are getting in the way because they're going, oh, Ramsey's going to cost us 50 million and Pavon would only cost us 30. And it's like, well, no, that's not how it works at all.
No, exactly.
You've either got to compare what they cost us now and you go, Ramsey's 3 and Pavon's 30 million, or compare both what they'd cost us over 5 years. And I still think Pavon would be more.
Yeah, interesting. But, I'll go back though, and I know what you're getting at, but at the end of the day, if in 5 years' time, you could probably get something back for Pavon where you wouldn't for Ramsey, that would be the next argument. Not saying that I'm arguing on that point, but that'd be what people would probably say about that, I suppose.
But if you're going to go on, I know what you're saying, but if you're going to go on ifs, buts, and maybes, maybe Pavon is completely unsuited to the Premier League because he's 5'6", and you sell him in a year for 15 million.
Yeah, and he's worth.
Look,
could be too. Yeah, no, could be. Yeah, right.
Di Maria is Pavon, but 5 levels higher, or he was when he went to Man United. They lost 25 million on him in 12 months. So it's not out of the realms of possibility that it could happen.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Okay, would Socrates and Holding be more composed centre-back pairing? I don't want to bash Mustafi, who has been in form for us thus far, but he does end up on his arse far too often when in a panic situation. And that's from Vish Schwinn.
I think it's early to jump on the Holding bandwagon. He had a very good game yesterday, of course, but there's no substitute for experience. And I mean, as much as Mustafi gives me a heart attack, I want to see more of Holding, and we're gonna have some midweek games coming up, so we will see more of Holding. But just yet, Mustafi and Socrates are sort of building something, and I'd like to see what can come off of that. I think Mustafi missed Socrates. I think he's definitely the more vocal one, setting the line and giving orders out there to the back line, maybe even to the midfielders. Without Socrates, we miss all of that, and our back six, if you will, sort of becomes disconnected a bit. So I feel Mustafi is better when Socrates is around. Of course, he's obviously got that one mistake or the other in his locker, but I wouldn't necessarily throw Holding into the deep end just yet.
Okay. I still, Mafropanos, I still want to see more of him.
Still out injured, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still... Yeah, what was it again? A little rub or something? Bloody cork or something, wasn't it?
No idea.
I think it was a groin injury.
Something, yeah. Okay, so we're going into Cosman Buddha, so pretty much we've covered this. Do you think swapping Ramsey with Iwobi or Mickey and playing Ozil in 10 position would solve some of the problems we have attack-wise? Also, clean sheet with Rob Holding and Mustafi, quite a feat. Anyone want to touch anything there?
I think it'd make us probably more effective attacking. It wouldn't run the legs off teams, which I presume is something Emery's trying to do, and it also makes us a lot weaker defensively, as we saw against Chelsea. Especially, no, that's not unfair on Iwobi. That's if Mickey's in the team. If Iwobi's in the team, it's difficult because I know he done well yesterday, but he generally is quite poor on the right. He's much better on the left, and he's better in the middle than he is on the right. So I just think they're trying to avoid him playing him on the right unless necessity makes it happen.
Utkarsh, is that it? A couple of seasons back with 7 wins, I would have pumped to face Liverpool after the break, but the last season has made me pessimist. I guess that's the story of every Gooner right now. Okay, Sandeep, question for Tony. I think you said Jose will be sacked by or before Christmas. Could it even happen by the upcoming international break? That was me who said before Christmas. I think, Tony, you said earlier, didn't you?
Oh, I said no. I said before Christmas, but I said it about a year ago because I just know what he's like in his third season. But as I said earlier, I think unless I think they'll line someone up for the summer, someone big. Zidane's who I'm thinking at the moment.
I was talking to a Manchester United fan today, and I think that's suicidal. I think it's a big. Oh yeah, I think it's a big gamble for me. Which
it depends.
doesn't bother me.
It's probably the only person I can see coming in that would get Pogba to stay. And if they can get the real Pogba playing, it automatically makes them a better side. So I think he'll be all but gone, but I think they'll probably hang it. Whether it is Zidane or whoever it is, if they're going to get a big name manager, that big name manager won't come in mid-season. I doubt. So I think it might be basically known that Jose is going to go, and they hold on till the end of the season until someone's available.
What about Conte?
Because if they get rid of him now, then yeah, well that's the only one. But Man United are getting hammered for their defensive style by their own fans more than anything else, and Conte really isn't the answer to that. No. And so if you take him out, who's available? And it's Man United. They're going to be going for a big name. I know Louis van Gaal was seen as a bit of a joke, but he was a big name when he came in.
No, he was. Don't know. All interesting though. Be good. Okay, question for Schwinn. Still with us, Schwinn?
Yes, sir.
One of your predictions was that Alexis might have an excellent season at Manchester United. Fuck, Sandeep's on to you, bro. Do you think he'll turn this around?
I don't think anyone can turn that ship around at the moment. They obviously need some sort of big change there, and it's not about one player or the other because clearly no one is happy, and obviously Mourinho doesn't know what he's doing either. Playing Scott McTominay as one of the center backs over the weekend when you switch up the system dramatically, that's the sign of a unhinged manager. So I don't think Alexis will turn it around because I don't think United are going to be able to turn it around.
Sorry, I got sidetracked watching some clown getting an Arsenal tattoo. Fucking one of the dumbest of places too. Hello, gents, says Siddhartha. Hello, gents. Do you think we're reckless in possession? We only dominated matches in small patches, but not at least 30-40 minutes straight. Even against smaller oppositions. Is it because our players are playing out of position? Tony?
I think it's easier to dominate the ball when you're 1-0 up because the other team leave gaps. And I think that's the issue we're facing, was they're never fucking leading a game. So you saw yesterday, I know it was ridiculously late on, but after we went 2-0, we were passing the ball about. It was all olays from the crowd and whatnot, and they didn't really get anywhere near us. That's because we had a lead. It's very rare, and I know everyone's going to use City as an example, but it's very rare you can completely control the game and just keep hold of the ball when you're not winning, unless the other team, and which is why City get away with it, the other team have come for a draw, and they'll sit back and say, let you have the ball. But I think what the question is asking is actually very difficult to do. And I mean, I don't think it's a consequence of playing out of position. I think you could play Ozil anywhere on the pitch and you'd expect him to be able to keep the ball. You could say with Xhaka, you could play anywhere and you'd expect him still to be able to pass the ball. It's his concentration that doesn't do him any favours, not his ability. Ramsey is going to lose the ball a bit wherever he plays. So for me, the positional stuff's got nothing to do with it. It doesn't help that you have someone like Aubameyang who doesn't overly want to be on the left, and he doesn't really want the ball to feet. He wants to run in behind because it takes away an option of where you can pass the ball. And if you do go in behind with him, you overhit it slightly and it goes off for a goal kick and you're giving the ball away. You underhit it slightly and the defender cuts it out and it does look sloppy. So there is a personnel element to it. But I also think it is very hard to just completely control a game when you're not leading.
And I see his point, though, because there was, and I'm just trying to think what game it was, where I was questioning that myself and thinking, fuck, we just keep giving the ball away. But I haven't really seen it since. It was a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember. It wasn't against Newcastle. It was one we won late, and it might have even been against Everton. Yeah, anyway, I thought, fuck, we're giving that ball away heaps. I think we mentioned it here, but anyway. Kid Dope. Would you say Emery has better handled his signings more than Klopp? Schwinn? It was slowly walked into the team where Tuera Ketia has just slowly walked into the team, whereas started with a bang and seemed to get enough EPL minutes. Might just be different in our seasons come May, although different circumstances play a part, World Cup part. He goes on and says, whatever happening with Laka really is all because of Aubameyang. We come into an unseeded Laka, but with time we really created some form of bromance. Just look at the results. Laka was really having an issue, but after pre-season he came around. Tackle that one, Sean.
Yeah, in terms of the first question, I think I'm not sure what Liverpool's strategy has been in terms of Keita. I thought he started really well, as Kidope mentioned, but seemingly has been taken out of the lineup. I wonder if it's something to do with the Champions League, because they probably want to divert some resources there as well. I have no problem. I want to talk more about Torreira, and I have no problem with the way he's been brought into the squad. I think it took Emery some time to feel comfortable. And, we're still seeing some lapses. I think he doesn't quite understand the language. There were a couple of times he was caught in possession. And I think both of the times that I remember was when someone pressed him from his backside, and it's probably because he doesn't understand man on or whatever was shouted at him at that point. So I'm quite okay with how things have panned out. I don't necessarily care about Keita anyway, so I'm happy to see Torreira, being embedded into the squad with time. As for Aubameyang and Lacazette, I think Tony mentioned last week that Aubameyang coming into the team has taken some pressure off of Lacazette, and that's given him some more composure. I thoroughly agree with that. I think that's really helped Lacazette. It has led to certain other problems, but these are good problems to have. And I personally think that Aubameyang is someone that Emery likes more. The fact that he's been deployed so far, and albeit it's just been the one game in the Europa League, the fact that he's been chosen tells me that he will be the long-term plan in that department. Let him be the sole striker or the leading man in the Europa League, and get both of them into the team in the Premier League, because you want to choose your best 11, even if it means sacrificing certain things right now, because the team isn't quite ready to take up Emery's game plan. So I sort of agree with what Kidop is saying, if that's what he was alluding to. Are you on mute, Taz?
I'm here. Fucking hell. Yeah, sorry, Shwin. I was listening. I was looking for this Utkash. I think I've found
question in the DMs as well.
In the DMs, yeah. Okay. So last question for the day, dropped into our DMs by Utkash. Hey, I've got a question for the next pod. I just saw Emery's press conference, and what strikes me is that our coach is a very straightforward person who says things as they are. Example, the comment about giving 2 clear chances to Watford. What differences have you observed in Emery's vision and approach towards the game from Wenger? Tony?
I don't know if he's so direct because of the language barrier. We was actually speaking before this podcast about us being able to speak other languages, and I said when I speak, if I can't, but if I try and speak another language, it doesn't quite make sense, and it's very direct because I speak in the basic form. And Emery's English is a lot better than me speaking any other language, but I think it's that kind of thing. He speaks in very simplistic terms because that's his level at the moment. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it in his press conferences. It's difficult to say if the difference is. I think he has more of a win at all costs approach than Wenger did, and Petr Cech's come out this week and said the same. He said that Arsenal had almost forgot how to win ugly, and it was more style over substance under Wenger towards the end, which is probably a fair assessment. Even when we was losing a lot of away games last year, it was very rare we actually stunk the place out, or not for complete games anyway. So I think that's one of the major changes. I know he came in and said I'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0, but he also came in and said we're going to press hard from the front, and we haven't done that either. I think that's just saying what he wants people to hear, which is fair enough. Everyone's free to provide their lip service, but for me, I just think the winning at all costs or finding a way to get the job done is probably one of the biggest differences I've seen.
Okay, I've got 2 more questions that Schwinn just pointed out to me, so you're a lucky man, Sarvesh. Not a complaint, but an observation. The one thing I would Xhaka to improve on is his first time passes. Most of the team he takes too many touches, which allows other people to pressure him. Thoughts? Schwinn?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think he can improve on that. But I think more than that, I think he gets caught because there's very little movement ahead of him. And I've noticed that our team almost looks like a 4-2-4, with our front 4 just in a horizontal line almost, not giving a lot of options to our midfielders. And of course, Xhaka is the one who's building the play. So he does need time and movement to be able to get something out of that. So yes, while Xhaka can improve on certain things, I think he also needs certain help in that department. And Nacho is usually the out ball for him, but you need that ball to your Mesut Ozil or Aaron Ramsey, because I don't think there's enough of exchange between those players. And if we can get them involved a bit more, I think we'd be a bit more dynamic.
I'm glad you said that, because I was actually going to say very similar is he needs options. You can't pass to nobody if you got nobody in front of you giving you options. I think I notice Aubameyang. He and we've said it a few times, but he is really struggling on that left, and that type of goes down Granite's side a bit. You've got Monreal. He obviously gives Granite an option. You'll see the long balls go to Monreal, but you don't see many go to Aubameyang, because he cuts back in and he doesn't really give Granite much of an option. So then he goes back over usually to Torreira and looks for something on the right, and then it comes back to Granite. And there was might have been once or twice and I'm only talking on yesterday's game, so that's as far as my memory goes back to. There was one where I thought the build-up play, it almost... It could have happened earlier, like it went on and on and on and on to going back to ended up eventually over to Monreal, where it could have probably happened, and it was Granite's fault, but looking at it back, it wasn't really Granite's fault because he had no options to pass to. So Monreal was running up. He could have went over to Monreal at that point, but he decided to go back to Torreira, so they tried to go back down the right to Bellerin, and then it ended up, So things like that I notice as well. That
I actually think the commentator brought that up too, didn't he? Because he said that if you had to do that, you could have just done it two minutes ago. Yeah. Look, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, when you're on the field, and especially in that instance, I think we didn't have possession for a bit. And I think it was just about getting some players on the ball, because that's how confidence starts to build up in a game. And when you've not had the ball for a few good minutes, I think it helps to get everyone involved and knock the ball around a bit. Let's also not forget that just because you're in a certain position doesn't mean you should whip the ball in from there. You move the ball side to side to jig up the opposition and find gaps. Yes, we eventually resorted to that final pass that we could have theoretically played, but maybe that was our best option even after moving the opposition side to side. I think the Aubameyang part is probably a bit more relevant here, because I shared with you guys yesterday on WhatsApp a screenshot of something Aubameyang liked on Twitter. This was a tweet sent out by @ArsenalHub1 that said, "We are wasting Aubameyang on the left wing, for fuck's sake. Either do a 4-4-2 or bench Laka or Alba." Now, that's a very frustrating tweet in the way it's written down, and for Aubameyang, who liked it, or I'm guessing he's the one who liked it. I don't know if it's someone from his PR department or whatever, but that's that's indicative of how he feels, and just that's what we've been saying for a bit as well. So we don't want him to become fed up and frustrated, because he's that sort of a player that you want to keep happy. He performs better that way, and he also gets his teammates up and running. So that is a challenge for Emery, and I'm very interested in seeing how he deals with that, how Emery deals with that, and how he rotates to keep his forward line happy.
Okay, so one last question, Sarvesh, and we've already touched on it, so we don't even have to answer it really. He's just talking about plus how good was Holding and Iwobi being at the start of the season. Both look completely different from last season, and we're not creating many chances as before, but Emery has improved in finishing off some players at least, but we need to play better football in the league. Tony really loves Iwobi now, more so than last season. That's all I'll address on that. Okay, boys. There was a game midweek, and I probably should have touched on it before we did all that, but anyway, we'll touch on it quickly. I didn't see it, Tony, so I can't really comment on it because BN Sports didn't show it.
I don't know. Obviously, it's so far gone now. Beat Brentford 3-1, through to the next round. Blackpool at home is what it is. I think we were cruising the game. It was too easy. We stopped. They started, and we struggled to get our foot back on the pedal. I think that's about as quick a summation as I can give it.
Yeah, that's all we wanted, mate. I just thought I'd better touch on it quickly. We've got another game coming up midweek, Europa League. I'm just trying to look who it is against.
Carry a bag away.
So, eh?
Carabag away.
I thought you said carry your bag away.
Oh, you might as well. No, carry a bag.
Okay. So what? Okay. We won't do a prediction this time. I'll do a bold prediction. To go a bold prediction, Tony.
Bold?
Yeah, something out there.
I mean, it's 10-0 every week, not bold.
No. I want a bold prediction, like a Mustafi might score a goal or something. Not a score prediction, like a bold prediction. Because you always say 10-0.
That's fucking bold.
Yeah, but it's boring.
No. In Danny Welbeck to get racially abused. Is that bold enough?
Oh wow! Okay, that is that is very bold. Schwinn?
I'll say Guendouzi gets his first Arsenal goal.
First career goal.
Yeah.
And first career goal, yeah.
No. Not according to Tesapedia.
Yeah, who thinks he's the time for 30 yards every week.
Oh fuck! I don't know. Yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, my bold prediction will be who are we playing here? Carry your bag.
Yeah. Interestingly, for anyone that gives a fuck, tickets were £4.50.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Shit, are you going?
It's a long trip, so I mean it'll be interesting to see which members of the squad actually make it out there.
Yeah, I mean I'm more interested in who's gonna travel than the squad. That's why with my bold I was gonna go, but is it bold to make 6 changes? The centre backs really worry me because I mean we don't know what's happening with Socrates, whether he's back or not. But if he's not, we're just gonna have the same two having to play in every game in every competition because obviously Mavropanos is still out. Well, I think I don't think Nacho will travel. He started to look a bit tired at times yesterday, so I think Kolasinac will play as close to 90 as he possibly can. And if he can't do it all, then we're going to have a makeshift. So I'd be very surprised if Nacho leaves England.
Yeah. So what? Who's going to slip in there?
Kolasinac.
Oh, he's back, is he?
Yeah, he was on the bench last week against the Ukrainians, and he was on the bench yesterday. I think.
There you go. Okay.
He was definitely on the bench against Ukrainians.
Yeah. Okay. Righto. Well, I'll
So
go.
I mean,
I'll go. He'll score a
just
goal.
quickly.
That'll be my bold prediction. He'll score.
So do you guys see more of a squad that played Brentford, or more of a squad that played Vorskla?
Brentford.
So further rotated than Vorskla, right?
Yeah, I think Vorskla was good. It was at home, and it was just about getting a good start in the group. And I think beyond that, he's seen what he needs to see. And I think it will be pretty much the team that played Brentford, give or take. As I said, I don't think Monreal will play. Beyond that, Mickey can't play, obviously. He's not allowed to enter the country.
Right.
So there's got to be someone else comes in there. So I'd imagine Smith Rowe starts again. But yeah, I'd imagine very, very much like Brentford.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Quite a far trip and then come back and play Fulham. So yeah, I wouldn't expect too many to make the trip, but it's still early with Emery. So if a Lacazette or an Aubameyang travels, I wouldn't necessarily be very surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if some first team players travel. I'd be very surprised if they play. Which, for me, I've always said this before, defeats the purpose. But because
Right.
I think if you're travelling however many hours to Baku, then it's almost as tiring as playing. But our squad isn't big enough to not take any of them, to be honest. Because as
Yeah,
I said,
that's
we've
the
only
problem.
probably only
Yeah.
got 2 centre backs, or even if we've got 3, they've all got to go because 2 of them have got to play, and then someone else has got to be on the bench. So yeah, it's a tough one. As I said, I think it'll be very Brentford-like, and even against Brentford, we obviously had Lacazette, Ramsey on the bench. We had a few others. Hector was on the bench, so I think it will probably be a similar sort of setup.
Oh, Schwinn. I just remembered. Me and you better give a score prediction because we've got a couple of people following our little tips. So I'm actually 3 from 3, mate. 3 from 3. Can you?
You're
Are you really?
You're 3 from about 700.
No, bloody old mate fucking tweeted me. He said 3 from 3. I said, I'll fucking run with that. 3 from
Old mate from
about
Tasmania.
700. 3 from 3, he said. Fucking tell no lie.
I need something, whatever he's smoking or injecting.
I tagged you in that, didn't I, Schwinn? That's my mate.
You did, yeah, you did.
I can't think.
I'll go for a 4-0 win.
4-0 win. I will go a 2-1. No, 2-0. 2-0. 2-0 win. I don't think they'll score. I don't
Comfortable.
know who
I like
else
it.
are.
Question: if we're going to see Leno on Sunday, which is almost presumed, does Emmy play or does Leno play?
Leno for me.
I think Leno as well.
No, I think other bloke. I can't think.
Martinez?
Yeah,
What other blokes?
Martinez.
Oh,
No, it's not
fucking hell.
Martinez. I think he'll play. I don't think Leno will start both games.
I do, but
Okay, another bold prediction by Tony.
I think you're the one making the bold prediction, Taz.
I don't know. Anyway, boys, is that all you got? We're
all
done?
I had was
That's
about
been 2
20
hours. I bloody hope so.
We're done.